Hi, welcome back to the channel. Doomsday Queen here, or you can call me Crystal. But today we are going to be talking about an area I am focusing my prepping on. And this is an area that's been talked about over and over recently, but not a lot of people realize how quickly this is coming. And the reason why they don't realize it is they don't really get that insider scoop besides the news. So I've worked over the years with different brands, different partners. And over this last week, I have received more emails than ever letting me know that there is going to be a beef shortage. Now, with that being said, what am I going to be changing about the way I prep to increase the beef in our home? You guys have seen in previous videos what my freezer looks like. I have about a half of a cow in there. This week, I'm going to be focusing on preserving all the tomatoes I just brought home. If you just saw my recent short that just got posted, I have about 90 pounds of tomatoes upstairs. I still have a little bit of peaches left over for jam, but our family's focus is beef. And I hope that everybody else is starting to realize what's going on. We have family and family friends that have gone to auctions. They're seeing cattle being auctioned off on prices that they have never seen before. While at the same time, I'm receiving, emails saying, hey, there's going to be a lot of products that might not be available. And so if they're going to want to get them, they want to get them now. And our family is now in this crunch zone where my husband says, hey, we don't have the space in our freezer for another half of a cow. The prices are at an astronomical high. It's the highest record. And they're predicting the average pound of ground beef to be close to $11 in October. And I hope they're not correct on this, because for my family, we're a family of 5. When we are cooking up ground beef, that is close to 2 pounds every single time we do a meal. When you put that cost together, if we use ground beef 3 times a week, that's $60. That's $240 a month. And that is more than a third. That's almost 40% of our grocery budget. Luckily, we do not go to the store. So right now, I'm highly encouraging, if you have the means, to stock up now, especially on your ground beef. Go and try to source as local farmers, as many of them as you can, because for us, we're going to be going to the same. They haven't raised their prices. They said that in about a month, they're probably going to be increasing to $1 to $2 more a pound. So I'm trying to get that deal locked in on a half a cow right away. But there is some ways that if you don't have the freezer space, that you can stock up on different types of items. You can go to your generalized canned beef. This is Keystone. They have a shredded beef. They have a ground beef. Guys, they are as all natural as you can get. They just do beef and sea salt. That is it. And it is shelf stable for over 5 years. One of my favorite companies to go to for freeze-dried food is Freeze Dry Wholesalers. They have their beef. They've had to go a little bit higher on their increase in cost. However, the one thing I do love about them is they are a US owned company. They source inside the US. They're not outsourcing their beef. They're not importing their beef in for their production line. So what is going to happen with these beef costs that we should be really concerned about is it's going to affect farmers. It's going to affect farmers. They don't know if the consumer is going to be able to pay the prices. These prices are getting astronomical. And what caused these prices to get to where they are? Well, one of the biggest issues, and it's something that has happened here in Utah too, is drought. The drought has affected cattle for years now. And it is now, this drought this year was horrific, where people could not grow their own grass. They could not grow. And it's bad, you guys. And you have to start prepping now. You have to think 3 steps ahead. I really hope that you guys, are thinking of different ways to have shelf stable meat. For our family, I mean, we don't go to the grocery store, but I don't know how somebody who does go to the grocery store is going to be able to afford this. Go to Costco, get their big, huge tube of beef. What you can use is a food saver. You can process it out into smaller loads of what you and your family would cook, put it into your freezer. Try to save as much money now and get as much stocked and put into your freezer as possible, because it is only going to get worse. So with these record high prices of beef, what is something you and your family can do to adjust your costs? If you can buy it lower, do it. If you don't have a freeze dryer, freeze it. If you've never canned it, you can can it. This is canned meatloaf. It is considered a rebel can, but it's one of the ways that I do have ground beef on my shelves, and it's delicious. You just warm it up and then pop it out, and it's an instant dinner. But there's so many things that we can do to try to be ahead of it. Yes, they've been talking about beef prices increasing since July, but now we're seeing the actual effects. So we want to jump as far ahead of it as possible. For me, it's going to our local farmer. Last year, we purchased at $5 a pound. I believe he's still at the same. He said he's probably going to be increasing to almost $7 a pound. I want to get a locked in order, but what do I need to do is I need to empty out my freezer as much as possible to have room for that cow to come in, whether that is freeze drying it, canning it, making room. I have to make room in the freezer anyways, just because I'm going on a deer hunt and an elk hunt, and I want to have as much room available as possible. I don't see prices coming down anytime soon, especially with the drought this summer. It has affected people all across the country, especially cattle farmers. It's astronomical, and it takes a while to get a cow ready to go to process. It's not this instant gratification. Then you have the geopolitical side of it, where you have increased tariffs happening and the import of cattle to come in on the commercial line side. So we're seeing it from every single aspect. It's written on the board. It's written across the walls right now. So the one thing in one area that we are prepping the most for right now is beef prices. And that is something that it's important to my family because we do eat meat. We eat a lot of meat. I only spend $500 on groceries a month. And that's really important to stay on that threshold, is to $500 to $600 for a family of 5. And I try to cut down as many of our costs as possible by making our own bread, making sourdough, making our own bagels. I try to cut all those costs and also prep for what's about to happen. There's no joke that inflation has been going nonstop for a long time. And we have been sitting in a pretty weird recession. It hasn't been fully titled a recession, but we are in a full-on recession. And we are approaching a depression. And it could be catastrophic. It could be catastrophic for families who don't have anything set aside. So if you can't afford to pay any of the meat prices that are coming out, I mean, I've had a few followers reach out and say that their area, it's almost at $11 per pound. That is insane. And they need to focus on chicken or turkey, other sources of meat as a protein versus the beef cost. Because once these prices raise, once we know we can't purchase a half cow at that price, we are not buying. And so we want to make sure that we have enough put away to get us through until it fixes itself. I don't know if we can come back from this or if it's even fixable. But I wanted to be very honest with you guys, it is very alarming. It's very alarming, especially as a large family, to see these costs. And so for me today, I'm going to be putting in another order of freeze-dried beef because there's something about where I order from on freeze-dry wholesalers compared to I freeze-dry myself. But when I freeze dry a steak, it doesn't come out the same way. Their technology is like 20 years in advance to a harvest right. And I'm blown away by it every single time. And we take this food out with us. Like, we're going to take some of it out when we go hunting. My uncle is a diabetic, so I try to take as high of protein meals out as possible and low in carbohydrates. So for us, meat is very important, and making sure that we have shelf-stable protein. If you want information on ways to save money with it, I'll have it down in the description bar down below. But if not, I would say start sourcing your protein right now. Start sourcing your beef prices right now. Let me know what the cost of a pound of ground beef is in your area. When we went to Costco last week when I was filming, I was shook by the cost of beef. But since that video, I have been told that the prices have gone up so much higher. So I want to go there tomorrow just to see where these prices are, because you have auctions going off, prices are going up. And that's the only thing we can do. We can prep for this inflation. We can prep as hard as we can, because that's one of the things we do. We prep for inflation. We prep for these uncertainties, and we've had so many uncertainties nonstop. So please leave down below. Do you guys buy a whole cow? Do you buy a half a cow? Do you can your own meat? Do you freeze dry your own meat? What are you doing to increase your shelf-stable protein and inside your own freezer to prevent these costs from affecting your bills? I'm a frugal prepper. I like to prep on a budget. So knowing that these prices are only going to get worse, I want to make sure that I'm locked in, I'm under contract. I know that my cow is going to go to slaughter. The one we are talking to right now will be on like September 2nd. So I've got to start moving through my freezer and create as much space as possible. But as always, stay aware, stay prepared, always have your head on a swivel,